Everything is governed by a higher power. The masses follow the rules of their king. The clouds are at the command of the wind. The light of the moon is subject to the sun. And hollows act on their instincts to consume humans. They do this because of their hollow holes. They are born with the overwhelming hunger to fill that emptiness. Hollows are creatures that need to survive like any other. A hollow consuming a soul is not much different from a carnivore eating the flesh of other animals, and yet soul reapers consider them to be evil entities that have to be slain by their hands. The Arankar that has hollow remains split into pieces and his hollow hole located at the right side of his chest questions why things are the way they are. What gave soul reapers the authority over protecting the living or governing the other spiritual beings? What makes these self-appointed arbiters think they are superior enough to claim that position of authority? He believes they are arrogant for believing they have a right to judge and slay hollows for simply being what they are, a hollow. However, the one he has come under the rule of may be the only exception, his Lord Aizen, who possesses the power to single-handedly eliminate them, but had instead granted them greater power and promised to lead them towards a new world. He sees Aizen as a savior that will change the natural order that is predetermined for hollows, bringing justice to his species. In Lord Aizen we trust, and a devout follower like himself is to act under the will of his lord. He is the Septima Espada, Zommari Rureaux. As a contemplative practitioner of meditation, he's someone that strives to conduct himself with a level-headed composure, as well as in a manner that demonstrates respect. However, all his efforts are not only self-contradictory, but appear to be ignorant of how he speaks from a place of deep vanity. For instance, against a captain-class shinigami, he claims that they were equals, but precedingly states that the attempt to save their unconscious ally from him will prove futile because of the difference in their abilities. Zommari is quick to call out and condemn the arrogance, but displays the very same hypocritical arrogance himself. His politeness and praise reek of condescension. He expects the Soul Reapers to show an act of mercy when he has only been cold and merciless towards them. And add to that, the attitude towards a recently deceased Espada was nothing short of critical and cold-hearted. Following the aftermath of the fight between the 9th Espada and a Shinigami intruder, Zommari went to see the exact outcome. Having little faith in the lowest-ranked Espada to complete a simple task, he only sees the expected. A dated member of Aizen's elite army, as well as the weakest Espada, died without finishing the enemy. They had toyed with their opponent, and eventually, their arrogance brought about their end. Zommari ruthlessly proclaims that things should be done without mercy. The Septima Espada has the fastest sonido of all the Espada, reaching speeds where he's capable of creating up to a total of 5 tangible afterimages that last for a short time. He likens this special ability to a magic trick. It's meant to take an opponent by surprise through the art of misdirection. It's tricks like this that put him in a position to maintain control over a situation. A need for control is rooted in his very nature. His powers, almost magic, gives him a kind of control that's so much more potent than just tricks. He exerts control over those that strongly oppose his views and force them to see the way he wants to be seen.
Subside.
That is the nature of the Cursing Eye Monk. Behold, the Septima Espada's resurrection, his magic and his love. The lower body of the Espada has taken a form similar to that of a sea urchin, with 50 eyes covering his body and 8 hidden. Each one of the eyes can take control of a specific target by placing an irremovable mark at near-instant speed with a direct gaze. When fixed on a target, the particular pupil becomes fixed in the dilated position, as if it were experiencing an ecstasy high. Zommari Rureaux believes that there's dominion in all things, and as such, his powers are to take control away from the user and forcibly overtakes the sovereignty of their body, making him have dominion over his opposer. Think of it as intoxication, the very same aspect of death he reigns over. Likewise, his devotion and loyalty have surrendered to a Soul Reaper, but not to one that had blindly followed the law without question, but of the Lord that his blind faith leads him to believe in. His innate ability is also a subject of this blind faith, filled with the intoxication that has been blessed by his Lord, for what he imparts to his enemies is the fruition of his love, but it results in a lack of cohesion and even a direct cost of efficiency in his other abilities. He practiced his Sonido to the point where he can make speed clones, but it seems that he can't carry over the technique when he transforms, most likely due to not being able to reach the same speed in his pre-released form. Having sharpened a core hollow technique to such degree to not being able to use it in his unreleased form is, for a lack of a better word, counterintuitive. He possesses a defensive maneuver to protect him from harm. However, the eyes on his body are not protected, which is quite a counterintuitive function since his eyes are his primary means of attacking. The only reason I can think of as to why it's designed this way is if he's forced to use it, then he realizes he's lost control of the situation, which is something he could never comprehend. So the feelings of loss of power or control cannot be more apparent when it does happen. The amount of glaring oversight of his powers emanates from negligence and mismanagement. Zommari is so drunk with the power that had been given to him, he thinks he can get away with anything as long as he can demonstrate his superiority over his opposition.
どうしました？攻撃を放つと直感したのに何も起こっていない。それが解せないと言いたげだ。残念。起こっていますよ、すでに。
Just as Zommari noticed a Captain Shinigami had walked into the scene, he automatically adopts the dominant position by immediately introducing himself, letting his opponent know that he is recognizing them as equals. However, the captain does not share the same assumptions. There's no reason to address each other further with formalities, since establishing a closer connection isn't deserved, as this is how things are between Hollows and Shinigami. Nothing more, nothing less. Although determinedly stoic, Zommari has an inclination to be acknowledged as an individual. Honor and respect are recognized when names are spoken and exchanged, so for an opponent to withhold their name from him is what he considers arrogant, especially more so when it's the case of a Shinigami. To say his self-identity is somehow not so important in the eyes of the ones he holds so much disdain for, Zommari wants to be valued by a greater metric than the preconceived notions of a Shinigami. With the two combatants being adept at the area of speed, the flow of the battle was constantly shifting as they kept attempting to outspeed the other, until it had reached a point where they both had to reveal their respective magic tricks. They accuse each other of being arrogant. The Arrancar found the captain's refusal to identify himself as a sign of disrespect, while the captain found the Arrancar's belief of being equal to be the greatest insolence imaginable. After hearing that perception from a Soul Reaper, if there's one thing that Zommari must do, it would be to prove the captain wrong and make him verbally admit it too. However, even when one arm and one leg had been severed from either person's control, the captain still believed that nothing had changed, for that's how far he outclassed the Espada. There's a reason they're ranked where they are, and yet for the captain to speak with such superiority, especially when it's him that's caught in a very difficult predicament. Becoming ever more apparent that he's not gaining control over the captain, he went after something not even the captain could easily abandon. However, Byakuya shut that down real quick and proceedingly shows the Espada the very meaning of futile, something Zommari had tried to prove to him earlier in the battle.
Accept my award! Accept it! Accept it! Accept it!
At the mercy of the Soul Reaper, Zommari begs for his life and tries to play victim, proclaiming that they, the Soul Reapers, have no right to hunt them, the Hollows. Blind to his own logic, if that were the case, what makes Hollows have the right to hunt humans then? He tries to claim moral justice, that they shouldn't be designated as evil beings for being what they are. Yet he's someone that doesn't hesitate to exploit a person lying helpless and unconscious to fulfill his own ends. A case of self-ignorance. But regardless, Zommari is mistaken with his assumption because he made it personal. In a sense, it recontextualizes Byakuya's arrogance. Now, he could have very well meant it as both roles, but it's apparent that he has a strong caring instinct for his younger sister, and as long as she's involved, there will be no one that will stop him from protecting her. It's uncertain if Zommari can place a mark on the head of a being who is conscious, but regardless if he could have gone for the head or not, what's certain is the insistence to make the captain admit defeat proved to be his undoing. It's ironic that the very same criticism he made about the Ninth Espada could be said for him too.
Banzai! 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 Long live Lord Aizen! Banzai!
Deteriorating into defeat, he holds on to the unshakable conviction to the last moment that he lay it to heart, to give glory unto the name of his Lord. But the Lord he was so spiritually intoxicated with was nothing more than a pitiful illusion. Alright, how do you feel about Zommari Rureaux? Give me your thoughts, opinions, and criticism of his character down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think of him.